And here is the Writer's Almanac for Saturday, June the 5th, 2021. Birthday of Bill Moyers, Hugo, Oklahoma, 1934, grew up in Marshall, Texas. When he was 16, he was hired by the town newspaper as a reporter. Bill Moyers, who said, "News is what people want to keep hidden, and everything else is publicity." It's the birthday of Federico Garcia Lorca, born in Fuente Vaqueros in the province of Granada in 1898. He went to school in Madrid at the Residencia de Estudiantes, the student residence, a cultural center where he met the composer Manuel de Falla and the filmmaker Luis Buñuel and the painter Salvador Dali, with whom Federico Lorca had a romantic relationship for a number of years, which forced him to acknowledge his homosexuality. He became famous in Spain with the publication of gypsy ballads. He had a falling out with Salvador Dali and of another love affair, came to the United States, lived in New York, wrote A Poet in New York, returned to Spain 1930, wrote his rural trilogy Blood Wedding and Yerma. The Spanish Civil War broke out in 1936. The nationalists did not look favorably on him. They dragged him from his home, imprisoned him, drove him to a hill outside of town, and shot him. His body was never found. It was just after midnight on this day, 1968, Robert Kennedy was assassinated in Los Angeles by Sirhan Bishara Sirhan, a 24-year-old Pakistani immigrant, hours after Kennedy had won the Democratic presidential primary in California. He was walking through the kitchen of the Ambassador Hotel. He was shaking hands with a 17-year-old busboy named Juan Romero when Sirhan began firing. Other men with Kennedy tackled Sirhan, and Romero knelt by Kennedy and put a rosary in his hand. It was on this day, 1977, the Apple II computer went on sale, opening the era of personal computing. Developed by Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak, it was the first successful mass-produced microcomputer designed for home use. It's the birthday of the Scottish economist and philosopher Adam Smith, 1723, in Kirkcaldy, Fife, in Scotland. He was a professor of logic and moral philosophy at the University of Glasgow, and it was in 1776 he published his best-known book, The Wealth of Nations, in which he says that the pursuit of individual self-interest will lead, as if by an invisible hand, to the greatest good for all. And it was on this date in 1851, Uncle Tom's Cabin began its serial run in abolitionist newspaper The National Era, ran in weekly installments for 10 months. Published as a book in 1852 by Harriet Beecher Stowe, it sold 300,000 copies in the first year in print, attracted thousands of people to the abolitionist cause. Here's a poem for today, some lines from The Prelude by William Wordsworth. When from our better selves we have too long been parted by the hurrying world, and droop sick of its business, of its pleasures, tired, how gracious, how benign is solitude. Hermit, deep in the bosom of the wilderness, votary in vast cathedral where no foot is treading and no other face is seen, kneeling at prayer, or watchman on the top of lighthouse, beaten by Atlantic waves. Lines from the Prelude by William Wordsworth. That's the Writer's Almanac for Saturday, June the 5th. Be well, do good work, and keep in touch.